How to make a mason line flogger. You need mason line, a knife or scissors or both. I like both. You need your O-ring, and I like to use these little clips. You could also use tape, and you need something with which to measure and something to wrap the line around. I like to use these mats. These are great. This is a pretty good length for me. It's about 3 feet, a little bit more than 3 feet long. I can just wrap the mason line around this to measure out a bunch. But you can make your falls whatever length you want. They'll end up about half the length of what you wrap them around. So once you cut one end and you start freeing the other end, you want to be careful not to let them shift around too much. You want them to stay pretty even. It's really annoying if you have to just get them all even again, trust me. It's not a huge deal, but just kind of pay attention and keep that in mind. Okay. Now I'm going to use a contrasting color here just so it's easier for you to see what I'm doing. You might just have the one color, doesn't really matter. Um, you can mix up the colors however you want. You can even mix up the colors of the falls if you want. It's your project, do whatever you want. So I'm going to measure out about 6 feet of this line. It might be a little bit more than you need, but it's better to have some extra and just trim off a little bit at the end rather than not start out with enough and have to restart this part. That's really annoying. Alright, I am going to take about 7 inches of this line, and that's just going to become sort of like my tail at the start of the wrap. So I'm pinching off at about 7 inches, and I'm going to just start my wraps. Just start wrapping down from there. Alright, so I've got that little 7-inch tail that I've had hanging off from the beginning. I'm going to make a little loop out of it. So I'm just pulling the end of that tail back over the wraps I just made. And I've got this little loop. And then I'm just going to continue my wraps, making sure the end of that loop is poking through so I can pull it through later. Okay, so I've done all my wraps, and now putting the end of the wraps through that loop I made earlier, pulling it through, kind of have to futz with it a little bit. Okay, now I'm just sort of dressing it a bit, making those wraps nice and pretty, tightening everything up, closing up any gaps. The usual, you know. All right. So we're just finishing this off with a square knot. So we're going left over right. Pull it through nice and tight. Then it's going to be right over left. Pull that on through nice and tight. Beauty of a square knot. You're probably already familiar with the square knot, you perv. So now we're going to just trim off the excess. Snip, snip. And my final step here is I'm just going to put a couple dabs of super glue on the ends of those wraps I just did, just to keep them nice and tidy. And that's pretty much it. I really like these toys a lot. I like how the ends fray and they kind of become fluffy and soft, and it sort of transforms into a really nice kind of sensual toy. And I also like that they're pretty lightweight. You can wail on someone as hard as you can with these things, and you're not really going to hurt them very badly. The neon looks great under black light. They make fun, just little flow toys, really fun for Florentining. I hope you had fun making it, and hope you have fun in the dungeon with it. Thanks for checking out the video. Bye.